Rise of Kingdoms just did their very first public ban wave, and the reason I say public is because actually Rise of Kingdoms has been banning players probably since the game first opened, but this was the first time that it has actually been published to the community. It is player facing information, but here's the thing, this is not exactly what you might think it is. So today we're going to talk about the violation punishment notice that was just published by Rise of Kingdoms, because as always I like to share my thoughts on this and I've got a lot to say. But before we jump in, of course, what's going on, guys? Cheers. Now, as you guys know, I'm a partner creator with Rise of Kingdoms, so if you want more content, drop a thumbs up down below. It really helps out the channel. We're so close to 100,000 subs. All right, folks, let's jump right in here. I am a little bit late to this announcement. This was actually posted at the time of you seeing this probably 2 or 3 days ago, but also, as you guys know, I do have a second channel where I cover gaming news, and it's been a busy week for me. If you didn't know I had a second channel, it'll be linked in the description below. I mainly cover Nintendo, Pokemon, but really lots of other big gaming news as well that involves Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam, so check it out down below. But I did want to at least talk about this because, for one, I'm super happy that they actually have decided to be public about this, because for the longest time the community has just assumed that Rise of Kingdoms sort of turns a blind eye to the people that are breaking the terms of service. And of course they do ban players. They've always banned players. Any company that has a live service game has to ban some people sometimes because of whatever reason, different exploits or chargebacks or whatever the case might be. So I really like this, and we'll go over the data in a second, but this isn't exactly what I necessarily wanted to see from the Rise of Kingdoms security team, and I'll explain what I mean by that in just a second. Okay, now if you guys haven't seen this somehow, this was actually posted over on Rise of Kingdoms official Facebook account, and they say, "Dear Governor, the ROC security team enforces strict penalties against third-party software use and illegal resource acquisition to maintain a fair game environment. During the period of May 13th through May 31st, you can see that in the top right corner, 20,280 accounts were processed, resulting in 32,665 total penalties." So if we have more penalties than accounts, that means that many accounts actually received multiple penalties, so they are repeat offenders here. Of those, they've included 7,767 verified violations and 6,375 illegal gem acquisitions. I'm not sure exactly what they mean by this. Maybe they're using bots to farm gems on the map, or perhaps they're talking about chargebacks. That is of course against terms of service. That would be, I guess, considered illegal resource acquisition if it's against TOS. That's my speculation here because they didn't actually specify. Perhaps there's other ways of acquiring gems illegal that I'm just not aware of. And they also had 3,131 script hunting cases. Penalties were applied. We've got score reduction, gem deduction, resource confiscation, and account suspension. So if we take a look over here, they do specify for illegal gem acquisition that affected accounts penalized and all illegal gems fully deducted. With severe violations, they have 32 accounts permanently banned and blacklisted. And this is the part where I'm a little bit uneasy about this, right? Because first of all, you know, from a game developer perspective, you want to absolutely be sure that if you are permabanning players, that you don't have any false positives. And the reality is that there's never going to be a situation where there's 0 false positives. By that I mean somebody who actually acquired gems legitimately and then they get permabanned. You want to avoid that as much as possible. It's impossible to avoid that entirely, but on the flip side of that, right, you don't want to be overly soft on these players and ban a negligible amount of them. Okay, so when I look at 32,000 penalties and 32 bans, to me that seems like way too few bans. Like way we need 10 or 100 times more bans than that, in my opinion, because from an outsider looking in, right, and just to be clear, of course I don't have any of this data. Of course I don't know what their actual methods are. 32 bans out of 32,665 penalties times 100. Okay, so that means that they banned 0.09% of penalty receivers, I guess we could say, actually got banned. Okay, so about 0.1% of the penalty receivers actually got banned. So again, even if they banned 10 times the amount of people, we're still talking about 1% of penalty receivers getting banned from whatever specific activities were here. In my unprofessional opinion, as just a player and bystander, that just feels really low. And again, I know that we don't want false bans, right? Of course I don't want that, but if we look at this as a spectrum where we have too strict and not strict enough, to me this feels not strict enough. That's just my opinion. Okay, now if we take a look here, they actually did also show sort of the governor ID. It's redacted, so you can't say for sure, but they show why these players, or these characters I should say, were permanently banned. And for all of these, the answer was third-party software. Okay, so what we can learn from this is that the number one way to get banned in Rise of Kingdoms is using third-party software. Okay, here we could see that lots of accounts had their resources confiscated but not actually banned. Okay, now just to sort of wrap this part of the video up, I do want to say that I am happy to see this. I hope they continue to do this. I hope that every month they continue to be publicly facing about the amount of accounts they're banning, why they're banning, who's getting banned, whatever. So this is, in my opinion, a step in the right direction, even though I feel like it is still a little bit light-handed. Okay, that being said, it is glaringly obvious that there is one massive thing missing from this list of violations, and that is piloting and account sharing, which has been over the last couple of months the number one topic of discussion when it comes to something that players want to see fixed in Rise of Kingdoms, especially in the end game. And the reason that I and many others would have assumed we would see people getting banned for piloting is because at the end of last month, on the 22nd, Rise of Kingdoms sent out this mail saying that there will be real-time restrictions and punishments that progress in severity as a result of mass piloting. Now, to be fair, this mail says nothing about permanently banning players, unfortunately. And of course, this also began on May 25th. So this actually began after the dates listed here. So perhaps at the end of this month or at the beginning of next month, maybe we will see what progress they've made on the anti-piloting thing. But the other reason that I bring this up is because I've actually been seeing players in the community discussing this new anti-piloting pioneer test, I guess we could call it. And when it was first launched, we actually saw lots of players who sort of had a false positive where they were unable to log into their own account using their own trusted device, which at the very bottom here, they specifically say governors who log into the game normally using a trusted device will not be affected. Unfortunately, that was not the case for some players. And then after that was ironed out, we saw other members of the community saying like, hey, I know there's pilots in my current KVK, and yet they are not being punished in any way, right? They're not being punished in the ways that this mail said that they would be punished. And it's very obvious that they're piloting. So what actually gives here, right? So there's two things. First of all, this was launched, there was some false positives here, players got affected that should not have been affected. And then when actual piloting started occurring, those players were not facing any penalties, right? Now, at the time of me recording this, there is no official update from the developers regarding this specific announcement from a couple of weeks ago, but it is my understanding that right now the developers are tweaking this system to avoid more false positives in the future. And also, I do want to remind you guys that this is a pioneer experience, and it's very possible that if the developers cannot find a satisfactory way to avoid false positives, this may not be their final approach to combat piloting. Okay, that is my understanding right now. So if you are expecting to see pilots get punished right at this very moment, you may not see that in real time because they're tweaking the system. And again, moving forward, this system might not be the end product or final solution that they use to combat mass piloting itself. Okay, now my other understanding is that of the players that are currently getting restricted or punished for mass piloting, is that these are coming from manual reports, so players reporting other players for actually piloting. The thing about that is though, okay, you can't just report somebody because you think they're piloting. You need to have actual evidence, right? So you would need literally video evidence of them piloting, them saying or like announcing that they are piloting. And even still, I don't know all of the details of how these players officially get reported, and I tell you that because I don't want you to watch this video and then say, oh well, Omniarch said all I have to do is just report people that I think are piloting. That's not what I'm saying. Okay, I do not want people to flood support with false piloting reports. Okay, because again, if you can't prove it, then you're just wasting their time. So don't do that. Only ever report people for piloting if there is absolute irrefutable concrete evidence, photos, videos, announcements of themselves saying they're piloting piloting or whatever the case might be. Okay, and then the last couple of things I want to touch on here is, of course, if you are piloting or considering piloting, don't do it, because it doesn't take a genius to realize that over the last few months, the Rise of Kingdoms security team has taken a much stronger position against piloting, third-party tool use, illegal gem acquisition, whatever that means. Okay, so if you've done those things in the past, you should stop doing them now before you get permabanned. All right, and then furthermore, like I said earlier in the video, I like this a lot. I want to see more of this, and again, I also want to see pilots banned straight up. I mean, I'm just going to come out and say it, like, if you use pilots in this mass piloting way that they've said that they're going to punish for, I want to see those players get actually banned straight up. And really, it would only take a couple of high profile bans for this to really move the needle when it comes to combating piloting, because I think that's one of the things that a lot of people misunderstand about the enforcement of these rules, right? The idea is like, okay, what we want is everyone who pilots to be banned. That's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it. But what we do want is a security team that actually acts a little bit erratically, that actually acts in unpredictable ways, right? If you as a rule breaker cannot predict whether you will be banned or not, then lots of players will take this side of safety, right? And they won't actually do it. Over the last few years, the enforcements of these policies have been so loose that people feel comfortable breaking the TOS, right? And I'm happy to see that that's finally changing. But again, I don't want to sit here and say, okay, well, the only solution is ban all pilots. That's never going to happen. We all know that, right? Even if they wanted to do that, it would be impossible. So the better end goal would be, okay, they should be very chaotic with how they enforce this, right? Don't enforce it for 2 months and then boom, take down 10 high profile players, high profile accounts, and permaban them straight up. And then the community is going to be like, holy shit, they're actually doing something, right? Like, oh my God, did you hear so-and-so got banned? Oh my God, did you know that guy got banned? And that's really all it would take, right? And they don't have to do anything for a couple of months. And then once people think it's safe again, boom, you hit them with another missile just right from orbit. Boom, 10 more high profile accounts go offline permanently. It's dark, it's over, right? That is kind of the end goal that I would look for in a world where we know they're never going to ban all pilots, because they can't. They're just not going to happen. That's like, let's look at World of Warcraft, for example, right? Like, gold buying and selling is against the rules in World of Warcraft, and it has existed since what, the game came out 2004, 2005. Okay, so 20 years later, and they haven't solved the problem, right? Okay, and like, that's Activision Blizzard. They've got all the money in the world, they've got all the resources in the world, all the incentive in the world to ban it. I guess there is a little bit of conflict of interest because people spend money monthly to have accounts there, but you get my point. Okay, if some of the biggest companies in gaming can't permanently solve the biggest problems facing their games, it's unreasonable to assume that Rise of Kingdoms is going to be able to ban every single pilot, every single person piloting. It's not going to happen. So the correct solution, in my opinion, is this, but for pilots, and don't redact the names. Pick 5 or 10 high profile accounts that you know conclusively are piloting, that everybody knows is piloting, that the community knows is piloting, and just ban them, right? And just do that every once a quarter or every other quarter. Make it chaotic, make it unpredictable, and I think that's a good start. And really, the elegance of this approach is twofold, because first of all, you only have to ban a small number of players before the fear actually kicks in. Like, for example, you take a few high profile accounts and then you just take some random accounts, you just throw just chaos, just random accounts that you know for sure are piloting, banned, right? And the reason that this matters is because one of the arguments against banning piloting is like, okay, well, if we ban all piloting from all players, then a lot of high-end players are going to quit, right? Well, it's like, okay, well, now we're not banning everybody, we're just chaotically banning people at random that we know are doing it. And it's like, you kind of let the fear solve the problem itself, and you only lose a small number of players. The other elegant part about this solution is that one might say, oh, well, you know, that's unfair, right? Omniarch, that's unfair. That is unfair to be making an example out of some people. You ban some people for piloting, but not for others. And to that, I say, yes, good. That's a good thing. We want it to be unfair because that's where the fear comes from, right? You don't know if the machine is going to choose you and then you're done. If you have an unbiased random algorithm just pulling user IDs out of a hat of guaranteed we know they're piloting players, that's where the fear comes from. It's the unfairness of it, right? So there's no one you can go cry and complain to, like, oh, well, he got banned and they didn't. It's like, yep, yeah, that sucks, man. Life is unfair, you know. It happens all the time, by the way. Like YouTube especially, there's accounts that get banned, demonetized, flagged, shadow banned, or whatever the case might be. Like these other services that all of us use and just accept willingly, they all have this exact same strategy, whether they do it on purpose or not, right? Like I don't think YouTube intentionally is unfairly banning people people, right? But it's just a machine of cold steel with no opinion, and you're just banned and there's nobody you can talk to about it, right? Like that's kind of the strategy that has to be taken here, rather than like, oh, I'm gonna go email support about my, oh, it's not fair. It's like, yeah, it's not fair, sorry, you're banned. I guess my point is that systems like this already exist in all of the services that you and I use, and no one complains about it. We all accept it, we all go about our business. But for some reason, Rise of Kingdoms is held to this higher standard, like, oh, there's got to be an appeal process and it's got to be fair and it's got to be, oh, we can't, like, no, let's just come back to reality. We're all grown-ups here, okay? We're all, let's face it, I see the analytics, we're all men from 25 to 55, okay? Anyway, maybe I'm just being too evil and tyrannical about it, but really the reason that I take more of a firm stance against piloting versus something like resource confiscation or illegal resource acquisition is because resources are part of Rise of Kingdoms. If you don't have resources, you can't fight, and if you can't fight, you can't play the game, right? So there's literally a direct line between having resources and playing the video game that you're spending time and money on. And so to me, that's less of an issue, especially because everyone can just get resources, right? Like you just create more farm accounts, or like you just spend more time to do it, or you spend more money. Like resources are not finite in Rise of Kingdoms, but your time as a player is finite, right? So people that are piloting are exploiting a resource that is finite, and that is the amount of time that you have in a day to play the game during wartime. And so to me, piloting is a much worse offense when it comes to the TOS than illegal resource acquisition, strictly because resources fundamentally are required to play the game. Piloting is not required to play the game. So that's kind of the hierarchy that I see it in my mind. So for me, it's like, okay, great, like we're confiscating resources and things like that, but what I really want to see is this for pilots. And also, I guess my final point in comparing these two different things is that to me, resources, I mean, the game literally sells resources, right, in multiple different ways, by the way. Okay, so like again, I kind of just struggle to like put resource acquisition on the same level as piloting. I feel like piloting is clearly worse. If this is something you could literally just get right now. But guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm curious to know what your thoughts and opinions are on this. Do you think that they went too far with this announcement, or did they not go far enough? Do you want to see them be more strict with piloting or less strict, or are you happy that they're sort of tweaking and pausing the current anti-mass piloting system? Let me know in the comment section below, and while you're down there, drop a thumbs up on the video. It really does help out the channel a ton. Subscribe while you're down there because we are so close to 100,000 subscribers. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Omniarch. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace.